Okay, so first of all, congratulations on this ongoing season. I've been looking at your performances. It's going pretty well in Czech F4. Think 9 podiums, 4 of them were wins, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, yes, 9 podiums, but in the first weekends, well, I finished third, no, second three times, but the person who won the first two races wasn't like classified. So I inherited 25 points, but I finished second. So you could say 4 wins, or you could say 2 wins. So.
Do you feel like 2 wins are actually 4?
Well, personally, as a driver, I feel like it was more like 2 wins because, like in terms of a championship perspective and points, it was really good. I didn't need to do any extra risks to get the reward of the 25 points and go for the win because I knew that I would inherit the win. But obviously, like on track, I didn't cross the line first. So as a driver, I would say only 2 wins, but it's very good.
And Oscar, we know that you have been a Jenzer driver this season, but now Jenzer is going to stop operating in F3. What are your plans now?
I mean, for the following season or for the rest of the season?
For the rest of the season and for the next.
So for the rest of the season, will it obviously be to finish the F4 CSA Championship? That's like the main plan, and hopefully I would win the. And for next year, it's still uncertain. We're looking at different possibilities, but it most likely be still F4, and hopefully a top championship with a good team would be ideal. But we still haven't confirmed anything for what we do next year, and this year as well. We'll just do some tests with some teams maybe, but nothing is really confirmed other than finishing the F4 CSA Championship with Jenzer, which I'm really excited about.
Looking forward, before looking way into the future, you've still got 2 races left, Brno and Salzburg, if I'm right. You've got a 46 points lead to Kutsko. So how are you planning to manage both pressure, nervousness, and your driving in general?
Well, yeah. Like as we get later in the season, and as there are few races left, it's more like I feel like a slightly more pressure, you might say. And like throughout the season, I've been building the gap to P2. But however, the last race weekend wasn't as good as I would have liked. So the gap is now 46 points, as you said, which is quite big still. So it's quite good, and it doesn't put like the largest pressure upon me because I have like some margin still, and I can afford. Obviously, I don't want to do any mistakes, but I could afford to do a mistake because of the gap. But yeah, so there's only 2 rounds left, Brno and Salzburg. That's correct. I'm currently in Brno because the race weekend is this weekend, and hopefully I can do well. Round, and so that'd be the plan. But yeah, so I think sorry, I'm drifting up a little bit. I think that there will be a little bit more pressure as we go later, but I think I try to do the same things I've been doing the previous races. There's no reason to change because I've been driving well the whole season. So like obviously we want to improve, but there's no point in doing a dramatic change in my approach to race weekend.
Are you thinking in F3? Why do you don't do the next level?
mean for next year?
Yes.
Well, I would say I'm still quite inexperienced. I've only done one season of F4, and even if I have done like moderately well, I'm still quite inexperienced compared to a lot of other people. And I know that some drivers like Lindblad may have only done 1 year of F4 before going to F3, but that's only one driver out of 30. So the other 29 drivers in F3 haven't done 1 year. I think it's a bit of a better approach. It's best not to rush into F3 because obviously F3 is so difficult. The level is so high and it's so close. And also in F3 you get a lot less driving than you do in F4. In F4 you can do as many tests as you want. But in F3 you only get the official tests at the end of the season and before the season starts. And so I think it's best not to rush anything, and more like take your time and make sure you're prepared, because in F4 also like it's you learn more in F4. It's more of a place where you learn, and it's less like when you get to F3, it's a lot more important how you perform, because realistically, if you perform really well in F4 and not so well in say F3 and F2, that it's more important to do well in F3 and F2 than in F4, in my opinion. But so that's why I want to be as prepared as possible when I enter F3 and not rush it, which I think is a good plan.
So currently you are P1 in the Constructors Championship in F4. And we're talking about maybe you are a bit inexperienced in F4 despite the amazing season you're having. Has Charlie given you any kind of advice towards this?
Yeah, well, I remember my very first race, or like race on the Tatus in F4, and I was in Bahrain in Saudi F4, and he was there with me, and he was like my coach for the weekend, which is quite nice, as well because he's driven F4 really recently, like only like 2 years ago, and he did really well in F4, so it's really good to have like a driver like him to help me, because he'd understand what's going on. And if you get maybe a more experienced coach, but like say I don't know, someone who's retired, they've driven 20 years ago, like F4 or Formula 4 or whatever, so it's a bit less accurate. But if you have a driver like my brother who's doing really recently, it's really it's nice and helpful. And I actually did really well in that weekend in Bahrain, and I won 2 weekends and I won the overall trophy round. But he's also but Charlie's really busy with his own like career and his an F3, so he doesn't have that much time to help me too much. He doesn't come to my races. However, from wherever he is, he does offer his support through like messaging, and if I need help, I can always ask him. And my family in general are always very helpful, so I can always ask them. And yeah, I often do like maybe like send him my onboard and stuff, and he will give me his tips. So yeah, he's very helpful.
And does your dad give you any advice? As Charlie, he's pretty busy. Hopefully your dad isn't as much, or is he?
No, I'd say my dad is busier than my brother. My dad is working almost nonstop. But even if he's working nonstop, he does often find the time to watch my races and give his advice and input if needed. However, my father has a slightly like different approach. Like when I'm giving him the feedback on a race, like I'm telling him, oh, I did this well, I did that well. He's like, no, I don't care what you did well. I want to know what you did wrong. And because obviously, like you learn more from your mistakes than what you did well. So it's like a different approach, and obviously, so that's like a good approach in its own way. and he does offer his help. Of course, he's so experienced and so smart and good as a driver. He's such an amazing driver. So I have an amazing privilege to be able to be his son, and for him to help me directly if I need any help. And he does offer his help, but I think it's also collectively him and my brother. They offer their help together, which is really good. So they do offer their help, but again, with my dad, because he's so busy, he doesn't. I think he like in F4, he hasn't come to any of my races, but that doesn't mean that he isn't. He doesn't care or isn't being helpful. He's always been super supportive. And the reason he's working so hard is so that I have the opportunity to race F4 and to race in general. So he does offer his help as well, which is really, really nice.
Oscar, in what aspect would you like to improve your driving?
Well, as I said before, I'm quite inexperienced, even if I have done one season. So realistically, I think everything is I have to improve everything. It's a bit now I've got almost one season of experience in F4 under my belt. So it's more fine tuning now and less of I need to improve massively one thing. But realistically, if I could improve one thing, it'd just be my overall pace to be faster in general, because I think that's what every driver always wants to be faster. And when the faster you are, it's easier to improve the other things and to do the fine things. But yeah, I think every aspect of my driving I need to work on. But the main thing will probably be to be faster in general, I think.
Okay. About F1, how do you see this season in F1? Do you think there is Mundial, World Championship?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. What do I think of the championship?
Do you think there is a fight for the title or no?
Well, I think that the season in F1 has been, especially as a spectator and as a fan, it's been immensely interesting, and it's been really amazing to watch, because every race there's different people fighting at the front and different people winning. I think that this season there's been 7 race winners, which compared to last year was only 2 or 3. It's a big difference. So as a fan, it's a lot more interesting. And to answer your question about if there's a title fight, Max Verstappen, I think he's one of the best drivers in the world, definitely, and maybe the best in F1. So he's so strong and dominant that even if he doesn't have the best car, he's still going to do well. And I think Lando Norris is obviously an amazing driver as well. All the drivers in F1 are amazing. And he does have a slightly better car, I think. So I think the advantage currently is with Lando Norris. But the difficulty is that Max is quite far ahead in the championship. I think before the last round in Monza, he had 70 points. I'm not sure what the gap is now, but
62.
62. So it's still quite big, and I think it's maybe 8 or 9 rounds left. So it'd be really difficult for Lando, even if he's doing better currently, to close that gap. And I think, especially if you're racing a driver that's as good as Max Verstappen, it's almost as impossible to close that gap. But hopefully Lando can try. And as a fan, it'd be really nice to see if there was a title fight like 2021 with Verstappen and Hamilton. That'd be amazing. And in general, this season's been really, 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 really good. At the beginning of the season, it looked a little bit like it was going to be a repeat of 2023, but then all the teams like McLaren have improved so much, and Ferrari and Mercedes, and all the other teams in the who aren't fighting for the wins as well. So I think everywhere you look, there's so many battles going on, which is really really nice to watch as a fan. So
You've talked about the support that both Charlie and your dad has given you. What about your mom? Because I think that the one who arranged this interview was actually her.
Yeah, my mum is definitely, I think, my biggest supporter. She comes with me to every single race and almost every single test that I do in F4. So I think she's definitely my biggest supporter, and she's always with me. So it's really nice. I love her very much. And yeah, so she's always with me. So even if she doesn't have the driver inputs that like my dad and my brother might do, she offers her support in different ways, which is often better because like sometimes you need help with your driving, but sometimes you need help just with yourself, to calm yourself down and stuff. So it's always really nice to have my mum with me at the races, and even if, as I said before, she wasn't a racing driver, I think she shows the most support towards me in general out of everybody in my family. So I'm very grateful for that.
Could you tell us who are your idols? Who is the person you would like to be?
My idols, well, to be honest, my dad is one of my biggest idols, and like I think he's accomplished a lot in his career, and he's such a talented driver, and I get to experience that, I think, more than other people, because sometimes like in the winter we do like fun cup races in cars that have 90 horsepower on a small like 1 kilometer track, and it's like a 3-hour race, and even if now he's retired for, I think, a decade now almost, he's still because he's still so talented that he's still faster than me. Even if even if I've been driving now currently for quite a few years, it's impressive to see how good he is and how talented he is and how hard he's worked, obviously, to be that good. So I think he's one of my idols, definitely. And other than my dad, I'd say a lot of the people in F1, because they like currently they've done so well that they've all motivated me to be better. But other than them, I'd probably say maybe Senna as well. I didn't get to watch Senna when he was driving, obviously, because I was born much later. But from what people have said, and from just the stories and watching past races and watching documentaries and stuff about him, he seemed like he has such a talent, and he was such a good driver that it inspired me to be better. And so I'd say he's also an idol of mine. And also, sorry, I think I have somebody else. My grandfather, he was a rallycross, a 3-time rallycross European champion. So whilst it's a different discipline, he's also an idol of mine. So.
And now that we know a bit more of Oscar Wurz, by the way, how do you pronounce your surname actually? Because I've heard all different types of pronunciation.
I may not pronounce it the best as well, because it's quite an Austrian surname. So, but it's like Oscar Wurz is probably how you pronounce it. But because my family is quite international, and like we live in France, so my mom's English and my dad's Austrian, I've had it many different ways, and it's only a 4-letter surname, so it doesn't have that much significance in how you pronounce it. So you can pronounce it however you want, really. But Wurz is probably the correct way to pronounce it.
Okay, I'll try. We know a bit more of Oscar Wurz, the driver. How are you in your own time? Is it different?
How am I? That's a good question. That like, because I'm 16 now. So what I mainly do outside of racing is be a student. I'm a student, and like my parents have sort of like a deal that I have to, if I want to continue racing, I have to continue being in school and do well in school. And I think I've done quite well in school. Like I'm doing quite well now. Now I'm in IB, in my second year of IB, and that's the main thing I do. Yeah, school. And I also really love doing sports. That's probably the main thing, especially as an athlete. Doing other sports is always really interesting for just also experiencing what other athletes in other professions like may feel. And it's also, I don't know, I just like it a lot. My favorite sports to play will probably be like, I don't know, like paddle tennis, normal tennis, and maybe like cycling. But the ones, especially where I live, the ones I do the most often are like cycling and running. I like sports, and that's what I like to do. Yeah.
And do you have any ritual before driving?
Yeah. Well, before every session, I obviously like to warm up to make sure like I'm ready, not only physically but also mentally. So like before, like especially before the first session in the day, I start off by doing like stretching for, I'm not sure how much time, like 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and then I do an exercise to increase my heart rate, which increases heart rate and focuses on concentration. And then at the end, I do an exercise just for concentration. I do juggling just to make sure my mind is focused and calm myself after increasing my heart rate. I want to lower my heart rate again by doing something calming, and then I speak to my engineer briefly, and then I go in the car. Other than that, I don't really have a ritual. I'm not sure if other drivers do anything, but I'd say just my warm-up routine. It's always the same. My routine. I always start in the same way and finish in the same way. But other than that, I don't have a ritual.
And what are your hobbies?
My hobbies. So I definitely say sports. Sports is my main hobby. I'm just thinking. Sorry. Yeah, like sports in general, and then well, just like as a student athlete, maybe I don't have the most time other than doing work. So I think sport, and then sometimes I like to play something like games, like but not like video games, but games to like, that I like chess and Sudoku. Those like games I like to I like to play. So I really like to play chess. It's quite an interesting and fascinating game, and sports in general. Like the sports I perform the most often are like running, cycling, paddle, tennis, and especially in the summer when it's warmer, I also go swimming. Swimming is quite nice, but the sports I perform sort of vary in the time of year, because I feel like it's easier to do a lot of sports in the summer because it's hotter, so it's easier to do. Like obviously it'd be more difficult and less like comfortable to go swimming in winter when the sea is a lot colder. And also running is, I don't know, I like it less in the winter, but because I like it less, I do it more. So going back to the question, my hobbies are mainly sports, chess, and school mainly. So I'm not the most interesting person, but yeah.
How can you say that you're literally younger than me? You're 16. You are an F4 driver. You can carry on with studying, and you say you're not the most interesting person. Oh my God. And you made me feel old, by the way. You made me feel really.
Me more.
I'm sorry.
And you told us you have to continue with your academics. Do you see yourself doing any job, some kind of job, after you finish your racing career?
Well, after I finish my racing career, well, hopefully, hopefully, like, sorry?
Maybe you never finish it. Have you seen Carlos Sainz's father? He's still racing.
Yeah. Maybe I continue racing until I'm too old to drive. No, but well, hopefully, I do. I'm that successful whilst I'm racing that I don't need to do a job once I'm finished, and I can do things that I do just for the fun and not because I need a job. But like if I answer a different question, like if I wasn't a racing driver, I'd probably be like an entrepreneur. Yeah, and I'd probably, whilst being a racing driver, like obviously when you're an F1 driver, because you're working so much and you're doing so much training, you don't have that much free time. But in the limited free time that I would have, if I'd be a professional, I'd probably do something a little bit like entrepreneurship and make a little bit of extra money on the side. And that's probably what I do. And if I had to do a job after racing, I probably continue my entrepreneurship, and maybe I might work like as well still in the racing industry, like work with teams as like like an advisor or something, and maybe do commentary if I wanted to, like quite a few drivers or do commentary on it when they're retired. So maybe I could do that if that interests me. And maybe I'll do commentary, and I'd still work in the industry and maybe come to the races if when I retire, which is quite a long time in the future. And just because I like it so much. If I would have a long career, it'd be strange to all of a sudden leave motorsport. So I'd probably keep a job within the industry and then slowly go away or whatever, or retire.
And the last question on my side. I don't know if, as you said, you're a really busy guy. Do you even have time to listen to music, for example?
Well, I'm not the most busy guy, to be honest. Like maybe I just make it up. But to also guess, me personally, I don't actually listen to music really. But it's not because I'm too busy, just because no, I don't really listen to it. Sometimes if I'm like when I'm studying, sometimes I may listen to music. Sometimes it helps a little bit, but sometimes it's distracting. So then I'm just wasting time on not studying. And if I'm doing maybe like if I'm in the gym, or if I'm just doing something like maybe walking somewhere or cleaning something in my room or something, then I might listen to music. But me personally, it's quite an interesting question to ask me, because I actually don't really listen to music, which is quite funny. But yeah, so.
Well, that's everything on my side. I don't know if Andrea, you have anything to say?
Yes, I finished. I don't have any more.
So thank you, Oscar. It was great having you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was a very nice experience. I enjoyed it very much.
I'm sure we can repeat it sometime.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to. I'd be honored.
Thanks, Oscar.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.